Okay, so 50s, the 50s, you're born in the 50s, television was just coming into households, and that was a transition, from, like you said, being outside and doing other things to starting
Playing with mud pies
yeah.
and baking cakes and having different leaves being meat, and some leaves were grass. And,
Yeah.
We made our own playhouses.
Uh-huh.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Hands-on, play, creativity.
Absolutely.
Then television came along.
Everybody likes playing in a little mud and dirt, too.
Yes.
So speaking of mud pies, I'll transition to you, Mom, because I remember when I was a kid, you used to talk about mud pies. And I remember, I would think, like, do you eat a mud pie? Because then you're eating mud. So is this a legitimate pie that's legitimately made out of mud that people are eating? And then if they're doing that, why are we eating mud pies? So, Mom, let's come to you. And when were you born?
I was born in 1947, May the 11th, 1947.
And where was that?
I was born in, what are they called? Folsom, PA. We grew up in a little town called Morton, Pennsylvania, which was just very few. Everybody that was African American in that town, they all knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
They were all right there together. Actually, I grew up right next door to one of my mother's sisters and her children and her husband. And it was just the type of place that it was at that time. The same little church that I grew up in was still in existence when I met the man over there, the pastor, who's now a pastor now. And to be honest with you, it was the same people in that church from the time I was a kid until I grew up. And they were still the same control people. When I grew up, they were the control people before I grew up. But nevertheless, it was a church that cared about the community and cared about the people.
Mm-hmm.
So that was about it.
Mm-hmm. So Folsom, Morton, that's Delaware County, Pennsylvania, correct?
Yes, it is,
Yeah.
Delaware County,
Yeah,
yes.
I think they call that Delco.
Delco,
Well,
yep.
now they do,
Affectionately known
yes.
as Delco.
Yep.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
Which I didn't realize also growing up a portion of my childhood in Delaware County. But can you tell me about mud pies? Back to mud pies.
Well, the mud pies, I'm trying to remember what they were. It's something where we just would make mud and put it in there and act like it was something to give to somebody to eat. But we knew that it was not really a pie.
Interesting.
But, I mean, it had its own things, and, there was always something we were making up because at that time, even though we were in a little small town, we had our own elementary school, and then we transferred to the other schools in the community that were not all black like we were at the elementary school. So there were always adjustments that had to be made, but we survived.
So when you say changes and adjustments, was that school integration?
Yes, it was. Well, it's just, I would probably call it back then, we just went to that school.
Right.
I'm not going to make it a big thing like it was a big integration, but we all ended up, everybody from my town went to a very, very high class, noted high school called Swarthmore High School, which then extended into Swarthmore College.
Mm-hmm.
And then years later, they made a big switch and started moving our community to another school district,
And that was?
Ridley.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's funny because I, just passing through Delaware County, I still live in the area. I passed Swarthmore College and, noticed the neighborhood and how close it was to where you grew up.
Yep.
And I think one night I actually Googled it, and that's when I realized that it was a high school prior to being the college that it is today.
I'm learning something.
Yeah.
I am too.
Yeah.